So you are a new character for season 2. Antonio is his name,
Antonio Montes.
and he is the assistant district attorney. So tell me about him.
Antonio Montes is a bit of a social climber. He definitely sees higher political aspirations for himself, and he thinks that the town of Bridgeton, Ohio, although it's a nice town and he grew up there, but he's looking more for like a national platform, something where he can, be maybe a governor, maybe a senator, something like that. He wants to parlay his work in the homicide division, assistant district attorney, to like higher political power.
So does he see Brady as the opportunity to get there?
Absolutely. I mean, if you can connect yourself to the trial and having some sort of justice for a group of people for a serial killer, he's totally using that as a platform, a springboard to move forward in his career.
How much pressure is he going to be under this season to get that conviction?
A lot of pressure. He's under. He's. I think it's pressure that he's put himself on. He thinks he knows he has a certain amount of time. He has a window of time, and for him, he just can't wait for Brady Hartsfield to maybe hurry up and wake up from this coma.
Interesting. See, will that happen?
We shall see. By watching season 2 of Mr. Mercedes, August 22nd.
You heard it here. There you go. So you're coming into an established cast already. What is that like?
It's great. What's great is because they've already done the work for me, and the idea of Antonio Montes coming into it is the same feeling that Max Hernandez is coming into it. I have my own agenda as to what I want to bring, and like Antonio Montes, he has his own agenda and how he's attacking a task and a goal that he has, and he learns how to read people, and he learns how to deal with them and maybe manipulate them, or maybe let them think that he's a friend when he's a foe, or vice versa. So yeah, I think he, like the way it is when an actor joins a cast like this, you sort of like measure and see where you fit, and you see how you do it, and then you pretty much like go after the task that you've already had in your mind.
You mentioned manipulating. Will part of that include manipulating Lou a little bit?
No. I'm not a manipulative person. Antonio Montes is not a manipulative person at all. I think, he is an opportunist. And I think he takes a little moment first to, meet people and, sort of get a read on them and know whether or not he will have some sort of, power over them somehow. And, but no manipulation from Antonio Montes at all. No, none at all.
Are you a Stephen King fan? Did you read the book?
I did not read the book. But I am a huge fan of Stephen King. I mean, who isn't? I think I've seen Shawshank Redemption, which is based on a short story of his, a million times, and it's always one of those things that I can watch every time it's on. But also Misery. I mean, when you have Misery, but even growing up, Carrie, Christine, like all these, movies that you saw. What is it? Lean on Me. I love Stephen King. I love his take on it. A lot of it is psychological. Some of it can be exterior things outside, but I think it's best when it's just dealing with the human mind and how the person is sort of torn apart and tortured by it. So I find it fascinating. I also find it fascinating how quickly he writes. I'm a writer myself, but it's amazing and it's astonishing the amount of work and the quality of the work and how quickly he puts things out. And I think I think Stephen King is a national treasure, to be honest with you.
I tend to agree with you, and Mr. Mercedes has been so interesting in the first season, and I love this new character that's coming in, so it'll be interesting to see, like you said, how he climbs and not manipulate people necessarily. So thanks so much for talking to us, and we'll look forward to seeing him August
22nd.
August 22nd.
Audience channel. Be the audience that watches audience. Oh my God,
That was great.
That's so great.
Oh my God, the new slogan. There you go.
The audience. Yeah, the audience that watches audience. Absolutely.
Thanks so much. So you are directing this ensemble cast. Tell me what it's like working with them.
Probably every director, exec producer says this, but it really is a gift. When Stephen first sent me the galleys to the first book in the trilogy, Mr. Mercedes, and I fell in love with it for many reasons. But I loved that Stephen King was writing about the monsters inside the people, not just the monsters outside the people. And I knew, starting with Brendan Gleeson, who I said to Stephen, I said, listen, I love this book, I want to do it, but you know who has to play Hodges? He said, who? I said, Brendan Gleeson, do you know him? He is in Bruges. He said, I love Brendan Gleeson, are you kidding me? And as fate would have it, even though his agent and manager said, I don't know if Brendan's going to do a series, he ended up loving the script and doing it. So starting with Brendan and Harry Treadaway and other people, I knew that I was going to have to get actors who would be inventive and alive and create the characters in a way, and I would give them the room to do that. And David Kelly wrote the script that way, that we could see Brendan Gleeson just staring at a spoon in the pilot. And what is going on with that man? And so working with this cast is a blessing. They are all very, very extremely gifted, and the people we've added this season have brought so much to the party. And we spend time and a lot of conversation in making sure that we start in the real world, and these actors are just exceptional. So for me, it's a real gift.
Yeah, that seems like a really great cast, and we were just talking to Max, and he seems like he's going to be a phenomenal addition to it.
Absolutely. I did The Last Ship with Max, but Max, and that's where we first got to know each other, but when he was suggested by Denise Shamian, our casting director for this, oh my God, Max is so great, and he's a wonderful addition, you know, as is Jack Houston and Tessa Farrar and all these people.
Tell me, how does one go about interpreting a Stephen King novel?
Well, you have to define interpreting it. Like everything that I'm lucky enough to get sent, I just read it. I was a kid who watched a lot of TV and movies and didn't read that much as a kid until I got to high school and an English teacher turned on my brain to that. Consequently, I read slowly. But I love reading. And first, I just read it and digest it and let it wash over me. And then it starts to come alive. And then, like most scripts, I read it again and again. With Stephen's book, I read it twice and just fell in love with it. And I'll tell you something, it's sobering and really thrilling to get a package in the mail which is this thick.
Oh my gosh.
And I went, what the hell is this? And because he didn't tell me it was coming, I open it up and it's Stephen King Galleys for his new, and we're now doing The Outsider, which is his new bestseller, which is exceptional in its own way. We're going to be going out with that, and Richard Price is writing it.
Almost sounds like there's a partnership going on here with you and Stephen
Well,
King.
Stephen King has a lot of work that's being done in the world, but I am very grateful to have him as a friend and I guess somewhat of a fan, and at least he feels like I bring this stuff to life. I know that people have said this is one of the best adaptations of Stephen King ever, Stephen King aficionados, which makes me very proud. And when Stephen loves it like he did season 1, and so far he's really loving season 2, to me that's a high bar.
So you are now going into season 2 of this great show, Mr. Mercedes. And Lou, I feel like she's as much of a complex character as all of the other ones are. So talk a little bit about her.
It's so funny every time someone asks me about Lou, I'm like, I feel like I'm bringing her into the room. You want to come over? I think in this season I've been stabbed by my very good friend, coworker, and a person who I thought was an ally to me. I thought he was someone who would stand up for me, and I knew he was a little screwed up. I knew he was a little screwed up, a little bit of a sociopath, but I thought he was a sweetie pants sociopath, you know? I thought he was someone who was a kindred spirit. And kindred spirits don't stab you.
Not generally, no.
Yeah. So season 2, I am organizing that in my brain, as other people are also organizing some stuff in their brain, as Hartsfield is getting pumped full of organizational juice into his brain. And the intermingling of that reworking is somewhat tragic, somewhat violent, and somewhat beautiful and interesting, and it's a lot, and I cannot wait to see it. I am so thrilled and excited to see it.
I was talking to Max about, Antonio being kind of manipulative and things like that. Is Lou going to work with him against Brady in a sense at all?
There's a lot of coming together in this series. This series. I feel like David E. Kelly, Dennis LaHaye, Jack Bender. They're all have an unusual, beautifully orchestrated pace, and so in other shows there's expectations about first act, second act, third act, and they follow that, but it's never in how you expect it to happen. So. There's a lot of stories that are in isolation, and then they come together in ways that are very unexpected. And the writing is very sophisticated, and it's really gorgeous and human. And so we may come together, we may not.
All right, not saying much then. Let's talk about Brady's attack. You said that, this was someone you thought was a friend, and, she's going to have to work through psychologically as well as physically the scars of that. How does she go about doing that?
A lot.
Things you can't say?
Okay, no, I can say some stuff, but it's going to be. It may or may not be in the show.
Okay then.
I'm like, we can talk about the show, or we can talk about coping with pain. Which one would you like to talk about?
I'd love to talk about both, actually.
Okay, well, there's a lot of different ways to cope with pain and abuse. It's not domestic abuse, but, Brady Hartsfield has a little soft spot for me. And he still stabs me in the stomach. And I'm pretty much his only friend, and he still stabs me in the stomach. And I think, if you are a person who's alone in the world and you have a few people, the betrayal is deep, and it cuts deep. And it cuts deep in self-worth and identity, and knowing, you have a list of things that you compare yourself to against the world, and when somebody comes and takes that away, all of a sudden you're left without an identity. And so that's very alarming. And there's a lot of different ways to deal with that. You can anesthetize that and do drugs and alcohol. You can fuck the pain away. I'm not sure if we can use that word on here. You can never let anyone close ever again. You can become violent. You can... there's a lot. I like to think of things as being stacked.
Okay.
And
there's layers.
There's a lot of things that it's this and this and this and this and this. And I felt like David E. Kelly and the writers and Jack Bender are very privy to that type of working. And I feel like, I don't know. I don't even know what I think necessarily. I don't know. It's a big topic, and I tried to pick a wedge out of that big old topic based on the experiences that I've had in this character. We learn more about my background.
Okay.
We learn more about where I come from, where I might be going. We definitely learn about where I'm going. We learn about. You just learn a lot more about me in season 2.
Well, and she's a great character, so it's going to be interesting to learn more about her, certainly.
It's a story that's good to tell. I'm glad that I got a chance to tell it, for sure. I'm glad that they expanded that. I'm really happy about it.
Fantastic. Tell me what it's like being part of this ensemble cast, because it's a great cast.
I guess it's a dream come true.
That's a good thing. Well, we'll just have to find out.
I mean, I hate to be like, I'm a witch and this is all a dream anyway, so we might as well enjoy ourselves. But I feel like there's so much about this project that is fulfilling and personally and professionally for me. There's a lot in my personal life that this project reflects back. There's a lot of coincidences, a lot of people involved that sort of like highlight other parts of my life, and it's one of those moments where you're like, I'm definitely like in a good spot. Does that make any sense? I felt like I've been talking a lot today, and I went from like normal speaking to like straight up like witchcraft.
No, you went philosophical, and that's perfectly fine.
Okay,
So we are so excited for season 2 because it's a terrific show, and I can't wait to learn more about Lou. So thanks for talking with us today. Nice to meet you.